Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In this video, I'd like to talk to you about the importance of teams and about team dynamics. Yes, teams need to consist of more than one person. You know this already, but not every two people makes for a team. There will oftentimes just be a random group of people. At least they will be far away from being a team in any case. At least they won't be a good working team. So what is a team? How do you form one? And how does a team work well? Let's start. So a team, first of all, is a small amount of people. It moves towards this shared goal of the members of this team. And the team is responsible all together for this shared goal. So one shouldn't do per se everything in teams. Sometimes certain things work better in teams and sometimes things don't work well in teams. Surely teams can ease our workload. Also teams can lead to synergies among the team members due to, for example, different backgrounds of the members, different areas of expertise and different perspectives. But a team needs to be managed and a team needs to be coordinated, and this requires time and energy. So even if you need a team, it should be neither too large nor too small, and its team members should neither be too similar to each other nor should they be too diverse. The composition of the team should basically be in line with the problem that you have at hand. If your team is too small or if its members are too similar, you may simply not be able to solve the problem that you're dealing with. And this is especially the case if you have big problems or if you have problems that are quite complex. On the other side, if your team is too big and if your team members are too diverse, then you're going to have a lot of coordination costs, and these coordination costs may become disproportionate to the problem at hand. And again, this might especially be the case for smaller and simpler problems. Sometimes a team is simply not worth it. So teams are especially useful in certain situations. We've talked about this already a little bit. And a team may especially be useful for certain types of jobs. So think about it. If a certain problem, if a certain situation needs different types of knowledge, different types of experience, and different types of perspectives, then a team might be very useful. Again, if a problem is multidisciplinary of nature, or if a problem, situation, or dilemma is rather heavy, sizable and complex, again, a team might make sense to form and to utilize. Also, successful teams tend to have clear goals and they tend to have clear ending points. And if you have this, if you have clear goals, and if you can provide clear points in which this team is going to dissolve and end, again, in these situations, it might make more sense to form a team and again, call upon the help of a team. If you have these clear goals and if you have these clear ending points of teams, these things help a team, its members, come together, and it helps you also pick the right people because you know how long you need these people and for which purposes, of course, you need these people. So if you do this, if you have clear goals, if you have clear ending points, then you won't have to manage your goals anymore, right? Because that's clear. You know when the team is going to dissolve, you know what you're trying to achieve. Rather, you can spend all of your energy on managing the team, and this is already quite a difficult job. It's good that you don't, on top of this, also have to manage your goals and that you don't have to manage when the team is going to dissolve. So yes, goals are important, ending points are important, but your goals through which you're going to reach these points of ending, these goals should not be random by any terms. Goals are very important, so they should be treated as such. There need to be a need for your goals, right? And your goals need to be important and your goals need to be worth it. they need to also challenge the team members, because your team members need to be motivated, otherwise they won't get to these goals, or at least not in the best possible manner, right? So if your goals are not goals that are needed, not goals that are important, not goals that are worth it, then again, it might not make sense to call you upon a team and to go after all of these coordination costs just for the sake of solving any type of problem. The problem really needs to be worth it. So if we move on, so we talked about teams, but we've mainly talked about many things around the team. But when you form a team, of course, there are team members, and these team members are very, very important. And before we're really going to get into team members, I would like to get a bit into the roles of team members, roles that you have to form and identify, and to whom you're basically going to pick members of the team for. So when you form a team, you need to assign roles to people, otherwise your team may simply not work efficiently. You can easily assign roles through the following questions. First of all, who is this team's sponsor? So who wanted this team to be formed? Who is, for example, the biggest beneficiary? And who supports this team, be it financially, be it spiritually, in whatever way. So secondly, who is this team's leader? And so who is going to take you upon the leadership role? So if we have to detail the leadership position a bit, then the sub-question that need to be answered are, so who's responsible of how resources are going to be used and whether rewards are going to be obtained or not? On top of this, who is responsible for meeting the goals that we just talked a couple of minutes before about? And so who is responsible of this team being motivated, be it through compensation, be it through the stretch goals that we talked about? And finally, who is responsible of solving and mitigating the problems within the team and among the team members? So the third question that you have to answer for yourself to again be able to properly assign roles is, who is the enabler of this team? So who is giving consulting and who is mentoring the team and its members? Fourthly, who are going to be the team members who are eventually going to, of course, be the backbone of this team? So at this point, I'd like to add a side note here. So you can share or rotate roles. This will help everybody, of course, develop multiple skill sets, because everybody in fulfilling a different role will have to, of course, master different skills, and will be able to, after this, exchange their experience with all of the other members as well. So when thinking about these roles that we've just talked about, what's also very important is that you think about the company hierarchy. So what is the role of the whole team altogether inside of this company, and to whom is this team responsible, and to whom is this team not responsible, and who within the company is responsible for the team? Of course, this is going to help you in whenever you need something as a team to go to the right person, but also when somebody tries to interfere with the team, that you're able to say, no, you're not the person to whom we are responsible and to whom we have to explain why we do something in the way we do. So in the end, just like I told a couple of minutes before, the backbone of any team are its members. And if you mess up here, if you don't have the right people in your team, then there goes the team. That will be the very point of failure of your team. So you should pick team members in line with the goals of your team. Team members should ideally not be too shy, at least not more shy than they have to be, and this can of course differ per position and per role. Your team members ideally should be able to say no whenever they should, and they should also be able to of course give constructive feedback for the development of your team altogether. Team members should be able to contact the team sponsor and the team leader whenever there's an issue, a dilemma, a problem, or a need. And team members should be able to discuss things, right? They shouldn't walk away or run away even from problems and dilemmas. They should be able to discuss them and bring them to a great and they should also fill each other and thus be synergetic of nature. So you should ideally have team members of different perspectives, different mindsets, different functions, positions, ideas, whatever. If you have a diverse team, ideally so, this will be leading to one team member filling the other one, enabling the other one, facilitating the other one, and team members building on each other, and eventually this very much so being what I meant with team members being synergetic of nature in the end. And of course, finally, team members should be responsible people. They should do what they have to do the moment that they have to do, in the way that they have to do. If they are responsible, of course, this will also spill over to other members of the team, and the team altogether will of course also get an upgrade in terms of its image. And the other way around, of course, counts. If people are irresponsible, this will drag down the whole team, it will drag down the team motivation, it will drag down the team spirit. So picking the right people, of course, is not that easy. Picking the right people requires the right selection process. You need to have basically the right recruiter who is going to look at the right signals from people that are applying to be part of your team, who is also going to ask the right questions, of course, to these people, and again is going to offer the candidate for the team membership the right compensation for this person, of course, to be willing and motivated to be part of this team, while of course eventually working to the best of this person's capacity. So for all of this, you need to have selected beforehand, of course, the right selection criteria, because people are going to apply to your team based on these selection criteria. Once you pick your team members, their progress then, of course, from that point onwards needs to be tracked, so that you not only make sure that on paper or during the talk you're hiring or selecting the right people, but also after that, that you stay happy and content about this team member. So whoever is in the team needs to be qualified. So this is really something that you cannot budge, something that you cannot deviate from. Team members, we said, are the backbone of any team, so don't just go for friends and family. A team member is different than a team friend or than a family member. Oftentimes so. You can be friends with someone, you can be family with someone, but if this person is not qualified, is not equipped, does not have the right means and does not provide the right skill set for your team to get there where your team wants to be, then you need to be able to say no to these people. A good friend and a good family member will understand they don't have the right skill set. They will understand that they're not endowed properly for the team, and they should be okay with you explaining why you're not taking them to the team. And if they don't understand that, well, perhaps they're not a good family member, and perhaps they're not a good friend. You go for people who are qualified, and of course, if you know someone, a family member, a friend who is at the same time also good, then, and if you can defend this, then why not? But you cannot pick someone because this person is your friend or because this person is a family member. You pick someone only and only because this person is good. Don't ever refrain from saying no to whoever is not qualified. This will eventually at some point lead to big problems, sometimes problems that you simply will not be able to solve afterwards. So being qualified is important, but so is being motivated. We already talked a bit about this. We already talked a bit about stretch goals and very briefly about compensation. And so how can you get your team members to be motivated? How can you get them to do what you want them to do, right? So one thing that I personally find very important, but that I also see kind of around me, is co-location. Basically meaning, be together with the people with whom you have to work. If you cannot be physically together, at least digitally meet frequently to get a bonding with your team members. At least getting to understand each other is key in being able to work properly together. And this, of course, requires communication. You can only understand someone else if you talk, and through talking, if you understand this person, right? So communication is key. Through communication, understand the other, and communication and understanding best works if you are in the same space together. So if you collocate, or if you at least meet face to face, and this can also be digitally. So what's also important is that everybody simply does what they need to do. So there needs to be, of course, trust around this. You need to be able to trust your team members that they're going to do what they're told to do. But of course, proper control mechanisms are a must, because otherwise there's always the risk of free riding behavior, basically being that some members of the team are going to shirk and they're not going to do what they're supposed to do. So trust people, have a trust atmosphere, and have trust being central to the team, but also have the proper control and monitoring mechanisms to actually make sure that you figure out whether people do what they're supposed to do. Those who are free riders simply need to be punished, and those who are working hard need to be rewarded in accordance always with their performance. So in the end, one should also not forget about how important it is to have this facilitative environment around the team. So the team is important, team members are important, the team structure, how you form the team, all of this is important, but the team does not operate in a vacuum. They interact actually with the environment. Teams. So this means that the environment of a team is essential for the team altogether and individual team members to be motivated. So teams need the support of their leaders. They need useless hierarchies to be overthrown so that the team is not going to uselessly move forward in a too slow and too bureaucratic manner. Teams also need appropriate compensation schemes to help them, again, be motivated to the extent that they need to be. A good salary, of course, is essential, and this is perhaps something that we shouldn't even be discussing. But a good base salary, just for the formality, just let me throw it out there. A good base salary is often something that helps people get on track and know what they're working for. This forms the base of a good compensation package. But of course, by no means does a good compensation package start or end just with a base salary, because on top of that, a good compensation package comes with rewarding good individual performances through, for example, bonuses. If you are in a team and if some people simply work harder, then you need to be able to motivate to reciprocate this, so that these people are actually keep on working that hard. So that's why you have bonuses to reward people for showing that extra performance. One can also give additional individual rewards such as trainings, such as certificates, and these might eventually, for example, count when this person is going to be considered for moving towards a promotion. So one important thing that also needs to be kept in mind here is that if you reward individual performance too much, this can lead to opportunism, being that people are going to, at the cost of others, at the expense of others, try to stand above the others in terms of their performance. And this is not a good thing, because eventually the team performance should be central. You can do more, but not at the cost and at the expense of others. If your extra performance is going to at the same time also help the team, then so be it, and great. And that performance you can reward, but you should not be rewarding and incentivizing the wrong behavior. The other side of the medallion is that if you reward the individual too little, this may actually lead to free rider behavior, and this is also something that you don't want. So you need to have a balance between rewarding the individual and rewarding the team. If you just reward the team, then free riding behavior might go unnoticed if the team, let's say on 90% of people doing the job, can still get to the team goals. But if you don't reward the individual, then you're going to get everybody just conduct average, medium performance rather than outstanding performance. So you want to forge commitment sometimes also to the company, not just to the team. So individuals, they need to, of course, be stimulated to their individual performance. Team performance, of course, need to also be incentivized, but sometimes you want to go above and beyond this, and you want to have people be committed to the company as well. And a good way through compensation packages, at least, is through compensating people in terms of dividends and in terms of stocks, being that, stocks representing, of course, the company behind it. The stock's value goes up if the company performs better. So you as an individual, if you perform better and if you're more dedicated to the company, they should spill over to the stock and benefit you. And of course, dividends being a part of the profit of a company. If the company is more profitable, you will get more dividends, and so again, you will benefit more as the company benefits more. If you're looking for non-monetary ways of bonding people to the company, that's of course also possible through all sorts of non-monetary, for example, exercises, days out, through crafting a culture and an institutionalized way of working around valuing the company and fighting and working for each other. So once you forge a team, you have to start working as a team. You cannot just set up, design, craft a team and then expect all and everything to be perfect. Sadly, things just don't work like that. Only if a team is actually going to work as a team, expectations will come true. So then the question, of course, is how, right? So first of all, you need to identify priorities as a team. What are we going to do first? What second? What third, right? Secondly, you need to plan these priorities in such a way that everybody knows what is the starting point of a priority, what's the ending point, when do we move to the next point on the agenda, and so on. And ideally, so you want these things on black and white. Thirdly, there needs to be this clear decision-making mechanism through which everybody understands what decision people are going to go for, especially when there is a deadlock, right? So does the team really have to unanimously agree on everything, or is a majority decision sufficient? Should perhaps only some qualified people decide? For example, the top managers only, or only certain people from certain departments? Or should the department only make a choice, a decision on a certain point if they are the ones with that expertise, and so on? Sometimes you might just want the leader to make the decision, right? If you really want something to go really fast. So the trade-off here is that if you want more people to agree, of course, this will lead to coordination costs. But on the other side of things, it might also increase the quality of the decisions, because you will have a more diverse group of people coming to that decision. And oftentimes, 5 people, potentially so, know more than one person. So everything we kind of talked about until this point regarding the team members and the team roles. But what we have not really in detail talked about yet with respect to the team is the team leader. So what makes for a good leader, right? Because oftentimes the reason why a team does not work well is the team leader. So, a leader ideally so needs to be a pioneer. It needs to be someone who's going to go first and who dares and who experiments and who really pulls the team forward, or sometimes even pushes the team forward. A leader needs to be an example. So what the leader wants, or what the team wants, or what the company wants, the leader should basically embody, live and breathe all of this. A leader needs to be a coach. It needs to be someone who's supporting the other team members and lifts them also, of course, to higher quality. And a leader needs to support rather than sabotage, or rather than push others into the ground. A leader also needs to be a mediator when there are conflicts, needs to make sure that things go well even when they don't. So if a leader falls short on these things, of course, the team is going to suffer. And so team members need to give appropriate feedback if these team members, of course, want the team to work in the best way possible. So if this feedback doesn't work, then you need to go to the boss of your leader, because otherwise this team is going to collapse. And the last option that you have is that if really nothing works, then you perhaps may have to resign and find a different job, because leaders are really critical. So I want to talk about one final point with respect to the team, and that is that we have to also talk about evaluation of a team. So this team can be formed, can work, all sorts of things can be in place, but at some point you have to figure out whether this team actually works to the extent that you want it to work, right? And at this point, oftentimes the first thing that we can look at is the team's output. What did they deliver? And is this output really what you wanted? But it's not just output that's important. It's also the process that leads to the output. The output can be great, but the process can be destructive. Everybody can be drained and sad and unhappy. Then this output perhaps is a one-time success, but not something that is sustainably going to be provided. And so the process is also important, and even the thoughts, the ideas, the opinions of team members should be taken into account when evaluating whether a team actually works the extent it should. So you can evaluate a team in different ways, and this of course depends on how much time you have and how much money you have. You can use different teams as a benchmark. You can check whether goals have been met. You can listen to your team, or you can simply appoint a consultant. So if you like, what you see here is that there are mechanisms within your company and outside of your company. Benchmarking to teams can be actually both. You can benchmark a team within your company and check, these other teams work actually better than this team. So what's the reason behind this? But you can also actually benchmark a team in this other company that you aspire, that's your idol, and that you actually want to approximate in terms of your performance. Goals, of course, are mainly internal. Listening to the team is as well internal, but appointing a consultant, of course, again, is someone from outside of the company, and it's often this last thing that you can do if you really don't have the time to spend on this evaluation, don't have the skills, the capabilities to evaluate your teams, or perhaps if it is cost efficient, to simply appoint someone external to the company. Team members also need to be, of course, individually assessed, right? You cannot just assess the whole team as a whole, because then again, you don't know whether everybody actually contributed something, whether some people are free riders, or whether some people simply underperform. So in this regard, one thing you can do are peer reviews. Team members review each other. The problem here is that oftentimes peers protect each other, or if they have this void between each other, then again what you might have is that people are going to give each other on purpose more negative scores. So peer reviews might be important, but you cannot just trust on peer reviews. What you can also do is look at self-evaluations. Again, these tend to be skewed. People often give themselves a higher evaluation than they deserve. But again, this might be important, especially for people to explain to you what they did, why they did what they did, and how they did it. Something else that you can do is look at customer feedback, and this might especially be important if customer feedback can be linked to an individual employee. So think about key accounts, and these key accounts being coupled to key account managers. And so what the customer, of course, provides as feedback is directly linkable to the key account manager. So you can also ask for examples and documentation of what everybody has been doing, and you can check again whether this has been satisfactory. Can you show me demos? Can you show me prototypes? Can you show me reports, documents, whatever? And of course, finally, what you may also want to look at, especially so, is the leader's assessment of what has been going on, because the leader, of course, is close to the team, is part of the team, and sees more clearly than, for example, the boss, what everybody is doing, and can take this again as a basis for his or her evaluation. Everybody, I hope this video was useful to you, and I hope you liked it, and I hope you'll benefit from it. If so, please don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe buttons. I wish you all the best in the world, and hope to again see you soon. Take care.